Hey everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Snapchat. Today I'm joined by none other than Cozy Snap. Cozy, where do you get all your shirts?
Oh my gosh, on the spot, everywhere. This one I got from TwitchCon that I went to this year, but a little bit of everything. I do a little online shopping. I like fun shirts, man. Where do you get your shirts?
I get them from the Marvel Snap development team, sir. But I will tell you that, you know how often the comment section of mine videos are like, hey, can you please ask Cozy where he got that Hawaiian sweater or Hawaiian shirt? Hawaiian sweater, Hawaiian shirt, Hawaiian vest. Like, it always comes up. You got so much color going on over there. It's incredible.
I could land a plane with some of those jackets, man. Yeah, I like bright stuff. It's just the style that I wear. I appreciate all the comments. It makes me blush. Yeah, my closet is it's a rainbow in there. I tell you, it's a little color. I actually couldn't wear almost any of that stuff when I was doing a lot of the green screen set that I had because I was invisible. It was all green and you couldn't even see me. So I get to rep it now. But yeah, this one's from TwitchCon. The others are assortment of sites. Maybe I'll post a pinned comment down below. Anyway, what's going on, man? How's your April season starting? And is the Hit Monkey season is a new season in Snap? Wow, we got some subjects to talk about today, yeah?
Yeah, we do. Today on our channel here, we're going to be talking about the Season Pass. We're going to do a review of the Season Pass, and we're going to suggest some things to perhaps shake it up a little bit, get things a little exciting, get people more enticed to not only purchase the Season Pass, but when you purchase it, it's a little more exciting, right? We're going to talk about some decks to play this season. Both Cozy and I are going to provide some decks that we've been playing in the ladder here early in the season. I've been seeing some success. We're also going to talk about the hot and rising cards this month, which I think are going to be really fun conversation because, like, listen, anytime you have a Season Pass card as good as Hitmonkey, there's going to be risers with it, and I can't wait to have that conversation. Cozy, what did we talk about on your side of the podcast?
Yeah, on my side, we talked about Hitmonkey and the essential combos, cards, and decks that you'll want to play them in, and just kind of talked about our general thoughts on the new Season Pass card, one of the best yet. We also talked about our buff wish list, man. God, we're ready to see some buffs, guys. So we talked about all the most requested buffs that we think might come to the game pretty soon. And then we talked about the top 10 most anticipated cards that will be coming to Marvel Snap. And so fun to look at the future, not only where to spend those token shop currency, but also just in general, the archetypes to get excited about, Alex.
With the token shop being what it is, with tokens being as rare as they are, you got to look ahead. I kind of joked about how, like, I used to never want to look at the leaks. Like, I felt like I kind of wanted to wait for the official announcement. And now I feel like I got to look at the leaks because I need to know what's coming up so I can tell the people what's coming up because those tokens, they're so valuable, you got to have a plan to spend them. So it's honestly a fantastic conversation, one that's definitely worth having. And one that, honestly, I think we have to keep up with. We have to regularly keep up to date with what's coming out so we can kind of make informed decisions. Because, like, man, nothing feels worse than spending 6,000 tokens on Super Scroll and wishing you had those 6,000 tokens a little later down the line.
Oh, to have a time machine on the first couple of weeks, man. I tell you what, there's some a lot of hype around everything, man. It all looked really good at the time. Alex, what are we talking about first on your side here? We got the Season Pass review and Shakeup.
That's right. So a couple of notes about the Season Pass. Now, first of all, there was a little bit of an error, right? We had the situation where they accidentally paywalled one of the variants, and that is being rectified by everybody in Marvel Snap, getting a free variant in their inbox. So that's fantastic. Kudos to the team for doing that. That's the right thing to do, in my opinion. The reason why I wanted to talk about this subject was because we've seen the same style Season Pass since beta. It has not changed. The format has not changed. You have a card unlocked. You have a level 50 variant, which is not always even better than the original, honestly. And then what you have is you have a whole bunch of gold, a whole bunch of credits, a couple, variants in there, and then finally a bunch of avatars and titles and stuff like that. Boosters, of course. What I'm suggesting, though, now this Season Pass, by the way, I think has some of the best art I've ever seen. We're going to talk about the review side of it. Let's talk about the art, because that's one of the things that really draws me to it. The Ryan Gonzalez art here is through the roof. Now, we just finished talking about how you love color, right? You dress in color. And now tell me how you feel about these absolutely magnificent variants.
So I've had the Rogue and Gambit for a while, and, I shot my shot, right? I go to Twitter, and I'm like, hey, Ryan, love your work. If you have any original prints, I'm your man. I want to put them in my studio. And I got pied, as the English say. She said, not at this time. So I do love her work. I think she does a really good job, like this Cosmo. It's so good. And the animated stars that are with it, whenever you upgrade it, from what I've seen, just really cool art in general. They always seem to nail the season pass variants and things like that. But I love this one's more my style for sure. And just super cool cards in general. And I like the animals as symbol. It's a fun season theme.
It is, but one thing that's worth noting here is I think that there are some opportunities to make things a little better here. Now, if you're to think very critically here, like considering that, okay, I buy the 10 extra levels. I spend basically 23 Canadian dollars on the season pass every single month. That's not insignificant. I remember like we talk about like World of Warcraft subscriptions basically costing, $15 a month or whatever they are. Like it's not insignificant to be spending 20 something dollars a month on a season pass. Now, the major allure for most people is the card itself. Hitmonkey, which this season is actually a really good card. However, Cozy, the thing I'm going to ask you here is I feel like it's an unhealthy situation if the season pass, the value of the season pass is always very reliant on the quality or competitiveness of the card you get within it. Because I feel like in Marvel Snap, we're in this unique spot where like when you get a Call of Duty season pass, like you're getting skins, you're getting all these different things. It's not necessarily unlocking, like you will get like a gun or whatever, but like it doesn't quite do what the season pass does. Like I feel like we have such a fixation on the unlocked card and less on the other things, the card backs, the fantastic art and etc., which I think we need to lean into more.
Yeah, it's kind of, I just feel like it's a lose-lose no matter what they do. First of all, I agree 100%. Let me break it down. First of all, if they make this card too strong, people are mad. If they make it too weak, people are mad. So we saw that with some of the season passes. So I don't know what you do there. I do agree, like the $10 just for the card isn't fantastic. These resources, they're definitely nice. But here's the thing where I mean they can't win. For instance, I think it's way too easy to blow through the season pass. It's so easy for the most part. I've never struggled. I'm always in the hundreds whenever in the season, right? Because I play a lot of Snap. They got to be careful because it's a mobile game and people play casually and they want to be able to spend that money and get that value at the same time. But if they were to amp the rewards and make it harder to go up, or maybe after 50 we have the next track, and that 50 to 100, man, you got to grind, but it's some good rewards. 100%. I think we need to shake up. They're not going to change this whole thing. I think that's a UI. There's no way they're going to put the manpower there. But it's not even just the rewards. I think it's the entire season. When a new season happens, in let's say Fortnite or with League of Legends and things like that, it is a huge event. And I get it. I know, Mr. Broad, I love you, bud, but you were sick, and I get that you had to film the developers video. To me, it wasn't even a developer video. It was just kind of like a season pass announcement. And the last few, there was a lot to them. It kind of teased some things coming out. It was the biggest letdown of the video that I've seen thus far, which didn't help the momentum, right? The balance patch, we'll get to that in a moment. There just needs to be a, holy crap, there's so much to do in Marvel Snap. It's a brand new season. There's a bunch of change in the air. And right now, they've already addressed it. It's technical limitations, why they can't do the balance patch at the same time. But imagine that. Imagine the dev video having hyper release stuff coming out in the next couple of months with video stuff. You have a brand new meta shift with balance patches, and you have Hitmonkey. That alone, if you do that, man, color me happy. I think that's a really good. It makes a season feel new, right? Based
on my experience and like the kind of community votes I've had in my Marvel Snap community, it seems as though about like 45 to 55% of the player base is buying the season pass on a monthly basis. And I'm just thinking that like if you amped up the kind of like, I don't want to say the quality of it, but if you amped up the rewards and you converted more people, you'd probably make more money. And you know what? The people buying it would feel a lot better. There is one major concern I have though, and this is something I'm not sure how to articulate, Cozy. Okay. So we know how expensive tokens are, because if you look at the Frog bundle, for instance, you're basically paying 7,000 gold for a variant, 7,000 credits, and those 3,000 tokens. And everyone wants those tokens. But you know what the sad reality is? That's one Season 4 card, half of the Season 5 card. And you know what? If you were to try to like just keep up with every single release every single week, you'd be spending like hundreds of dollars a month in credits and gold and stuff like that. So is it sad that it's a bit of a reprieve to like just spend your 10, 20 bucks and get a card brand new in like the season pass? Like, does that feel right? Because for me, it kind of like showcases how problematic the card acquisition is. I don't think the season pass should be an avenue for card acquisition. I think it should be something that we're getting even more variants, even more value, even more cosmetics. that's where that's where it should be shining. It shouldn't be about the card.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a whole nother topic, right? The card acquisition, because they've doubled down on it. That's their thing. They don't want everyone to have every card, and that's that, right? That's like when I see a lot of complaints on Twitter or whatever about people saying, look how much whale bait this is. It's like they don't want you to be able to have every card, that they don't really, at the moment, care for that. And is it the right decision? I think most of everyone's leaning on no on that, right? And so that's its own kind of subject to it, right? And in one side of the thing, like, you don't, goodness God, you don't need to buy the frog bundle to be competitive in Snap, but that doesn't take away from the funness about it too, or any of those aspects. And I do agree. I think that they need to have some serious conversations on Second Dinner of what they want to do with the avenue of the game, but they also need to make sure that they continue to bring excitement. And I'll tell you, what isn't exciting is knowing, right? And in fact, this is a great example. I do a season pass review every single time. I knew what this was going to be. Not data mined, but because I knew it was going to be the exact same season pass. That's not exciting. I knew it was the same stuff. And it just doesn't bring excitement, right? Christmas every year for the same stuff isn't exciting, or Boxing Day for you. But I don't know. That's my general thoughts on the season pass. I like the thematicness. I think it's a good starting point, but let's see some change.
Absolutely. And it is thematically very strong. I think this is amongst the strongest thematic. Like, ironically, we're just coming from an X-Men one where I feel like they dropped the ball on the X-Men theme, right? Yeah. We talked about how, like, Nimrod, which is actually, by the way, in the animated series. I had not realized that till I saw it. Is that like what, the fourth time I've brought it up this episode?
He's OP, dude, in the animated. He is like ridiculously overpowered in the animated series. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, so like it's so funny how we talked about prior, like, who's Nimrod? I don't know who Nimrod is. And like literally in season 1 of the animated series, he's there fighting Bishop. I'm like, oh damn, I should have watched. I didn't even remember this, right? But I do think that like we need to reinvigorate what this is, the general design of it. And you're right, like by the way, your review video was fantastic and it nailed everything. And it's like true, you knew exactly what it was going to be because it hasn't changed. It needs to change. And I think that like honestly, the boosters, they got to go. Like the boosters, if they feel like filler. They feel like filler. Yeah. Just the way like the titles feel like filler. Just like in the collection track, there's tons of collection levels that are actually just nothing, right? Like there's too much filler, especially when you're putting your money down. You need to get more out of it. I'm sorry. When I hear that 45% of the player base is buying the season pass, especially when it's unlocking a meta-relevant card, that to me is painful, and it's indicative that the season pass is not providing enough value.
Yeah, especially with each pass that passes. Keep up with me there, because here's the thing. Oh my God, look how cute this card back is.
It's incredible.
In 10 months from now, I'm going to have a gold X-Men back. I'm going to have a gold Goose. I'm going to have a lot of different card backs I can choose from. It just doesn't, it's cool. It's a new thing, but it doesn't change that we have like an endless vacuum of titles and card backs and avatars and things like that. And again, they really did great with the ones they offered. I saw on Twitter, you said you loved the Cosmo one. It's your favorite one. But I do agree. They need to shake it up. I think actually the credit and gold stuff is good, and it's good value, good resources, plenty of that. But it's the boosters, it's the things in between. Gotta go and get a new refresh.
All right, Cozy, let's talk about the decks to play this season. Now, the season pass, it needs work. But you know what does not need work? Is Hitmonkey. Hitmonkey is in a great spot right now. So let's talk about a couple Hitmonkey decks, but then we're going to talk about a couple other decks too, because I know there's a lot of people out there that might not have Hitmonkey. As we discussed, you didn't buy the season pass. It was not enticing enough. Hitmonkey, though, is in a great spot, Cozy. Show me a deck that you're absolutely loving with Hitmonkey.
Yeah, you know, it's more if I could just speak on them. I think the majority of my deck spots right now, probably half of them are, and I need to reorganize this, but they are Hitmonkey testing decks, because there's so much theory crafting that you can do. You can have, and some of these don't work great, let me tell you. I've done some testing. I thought the whole move bounce thing would be a lot of fun. Maybe it will be. Didn't really work out for me. But I do think there's a lot of fun decks that you can play at the moment. Really, you'll see a deck guide if it does end up working for me. But a build that I have being put together, you heard it here first, is kind of this Hitmonkey Patriot deck. Can't really see it all the way, but I have things that just work with Bast and things that work with Mysterio. Now, I love this. I hope that no one gets it out before I do a deck guide. It's probably going to happen. But Wasp, Hood, and Bast is going to be your low-cost cards. You have Wasp that works with Patriot. You also have Hood's Demon that works with Patriot. Bast is going to make Hood better. You have Angela Bishop, obviously Mysterio, and Hitmonkey. But I went back to the classic Miracle decks that have Bucky Barn and Carnage, because they're both one cost with Sarah on the board. And then the Iron Man right now, he's kind of the filler The deck started out with Invisible Woman and Ultron because of Hitmonkey's really good combo potential with Invisible Woman. But this is this is what I'm talking about. I think people see the bounce, they see the miracle, they say, okay, I'm gonna go climb with those two. I like trying some different stuff here. So this is my newest blend.
Cozy, I've got a deck very similar to that, utilizing Sarah to good effectiveness as well. And it is in the standard control shell of Sarah. You see it on the screen here. And the way it works here is you're basically using Sarah on turn 5 to have a miracle style turn 6. And the key thing is you have Nova Korg, right? But you're using the Nova in conjunction with Killmonger, because Killmonger is providing a ton of value against those sunspots. You have Hitmonkey, which again, you want to drop on that turn 6. But earlier, if you're suspecting that Sandman or Leech might be coming out, it's a Zabu-based list with Sentinel, Mysterio, and Bishop, Darkhawk, Shang-Chi, and Rockslide. Now, I love this deck because you have the Sarah control elements of obviously a inexpensive Shang-Chi, an inexpensive Rockslide. On turn 6, if you have both Zabu and Sarah, you have that 2-cost Shang-Chi, which can be incredibly valuable. You have the value generation of Mysterio with Bishop and Hitmonkey. It's just a deck that I feel like does everything right. And the thing I love about this control list, really my favorite thing, is the Killmonger Nova combination, which I know seems like, Alex, really, but the amount of sunspots out there, when you drop that Killmonger, it like completely wipes their board state. And unfortunately, sometimes the Nova gives away the fact that you might be having something up your sleeve. Like, why do you have a Nova on the board when you're playing? But like, honestly, it does work, because I'm finding a lot of people out there are getting greedy. They're playing Sunspot and they're not armoring up.
Yeah, it's funny. I was definitely leaning towards no Novas anymore with my Miracle decks before Monkey, right? Just why? Yeah, there's just other options out there, if I'm being honest. But now that Mysterio is a staple, you're checking off like 9 boxes, man. It's insane.
I know.
The Mysterio getting those the +1s, which actually was in the first style of Sarah Miracle decks ever. But those getting the +1s now, and you're getting rid of the 1-cost drops, the Titania, the Zulus, and you're just it's so much at once. And Mysterio being only 1, Killmonger being 2 cost, very solid stuff. Love the Miracle style decks.
Yeah, and again, like honestly, we talked about in the past how Killmonger, it's a 3/3, but realistically, it's way higher than that. When you're procking Nova and you're taking out their Sunspot, suddenly it's like a 3/15 as it spreads across the board to all your Mysterio clones and your Hitmonkey and everything else. You just zoot out like crazy. It's incredible. Like, it becomes probably one of the biggest stat lines at 3 costs, just in pure board value. And the fact that you can sneak it out with a Sarah as a 2 cost. Remember, if you have Sarah Zabu, you can Killmonger, you can Shang-Chi, and you can Rockslide on the same turn, right? Yeah. So it's crazy what you can actually do. You can ramp up your Darkhawk while also basically punching out a card over here and just like destroying everything on the other side. So it's quite wild what you can do in 1 turn with this deck.
Oh, I love it, man. I have another spicy deck that's very hard to operate, but it's a lot of fun, man. And look at this blend here. This is my Valk Kong deck, and this thing is kind of nutty. You have a lot of things happening here. Now, Hood could be there instead of Adam Warlock, but we've got Wasp, Yellow Jacket, Bast, Ant-Man, Warlock, and Angela. And then, of course, you have the Hitmonkey, Bishop, Mysterio, Thor, Jane Thor, and Valkyrie. Now, the whole point of this deck, guys, is you have the 0 cost that you can pull with Jane Foster, in addition to Thor's Hammer. So you have 3 free cards to play with your Hitmonkey. You have cheap cards like Ant-Man that are going to boost up when you do your Valkyrie, 3ing every card on that location. It works with Angela. It works with every single card that could use it. And man, you can flood. You can absolutely flood. And for the first time, Jane feels good to play on turn 5 because you're getting all these 0 cards. And if you already have them, you can do some other funny business with it. Best part is I have Adam Warlock in the deck to guarantee our card draw, making sure we get the cards we need and the combo pieces, as well as getting a better chance to pull Mjolnir if you don't have the card. Now, Alex, this is definitely my spicy deck as well, one that I've been having a lot of fun with. Gonna need a proper in-depth guide, but that's what I've been messing with as well.
Oh, you're speaking to my heart. Like, I was literally staring at that screen and like just getting so happy because like you have Valkyrie in there, you got Adam Warlock in there, Bash. Like, we just finished talking about how we love all these cards, right? Like, you literally played. It's like, what cards do I love that no one's playing? Boom, 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 boom. And you've made an actual viable deck with them. That's fantastic. Just gotta find a way to get Crystal in there.
I know, right? Maybe if they buffer. But yeah, that's been my latest deck. Do you have any last ones for me?
Yeah, okay, so I get a lot of questions about this. People are like, hey, Alex, I didn't buy Hitmonkey. I just didn't want to, or for whatever reason. How do I deal with it? Well, honestly, there is one really reliable deck that you can turn to, and that is a Sandman deck. Now, the Sandman anti-ramp meta list here, what it does is it effectively makes it so that you can get a Sandman or Leech out on turn 4, which very effectively nullifies your opponent's opportunity to play these very combo-centric decks that we're really seeing in the meta right now. You do prioritize Sandman, right? Because the way bounce can work sometimes, whether or not you have priority, they might actually dodge the Leech, honestly. So you want to focus on Sandman first, and then with Sandman you have the follow-up with Doom Odin, which is very problematic for your opponent to deal with. It has a very straightforward playstyle. You have the Sunspot Iceman, which is going to be really prevalent in this meta to help break up a lot of combos. You have the Ebony Maw, which is just a great value piece for initiative. Scorpion, which once again negates a lot of the value from those bounce-based lists. And honestly, at the end of the day, this is a very reliable list to counter these combo-centric decks that we're seeing out there right now, especially with Hitmonkey and the prevalence of Hitmonkey. Now, one thing I will say, however, is it does not fare as well against Shuri. So Shuri is going to be problematic because naturally, as an Electro ramp list, you don't want to run a 4-drop like Shang-Chi. It feels a little awkward, but if Shuri gets adjusted, like we're hoping it does, it should allow for a deck like this to really climb up the tiers. So just be aware that if you're getting Shuri, if you notice it's a Shuri player and they snap, you just give them the 1 cube, you walk away, you queue next.
Yeah, man. Sandman, he's going to be crawling all over the meta. I kind of forgot these are just decks to play and not Hitmonkey decks. I showed a couple of Hitmonkeys. Yeah, Sandman, I've got Arrow in mind, and not just because I love her, but I think that Arrow's a good way to counter Shuri. If you see that that's what they're playing, you can do Arrow and then Odin the Arrow and make sure they just keep playing the big card where they don't want to, and then you win the other 2 locations. But yeah, Sandman right now, very strong position, and a few different ways to play him, which is what I love about that in general. On top of that, I think Doom Wave is obviously going to be really good right now. The Wave 5 decks and just the way that you're able to play She-Hulk with a 5-cost card. A lot of people, for whatever reason, are still confused, guys. It's very simple. If you play just Wave on turn 5 and you have She-Hulk, you can play She-Hulk plus any other card in your deck. And that is where you can do Magneto combos and Doctor Doom. There's a lot of great stuff to pair them up with. So that's a deck that I would favor at the moment. I also think that just the ones last season are still doing great. Silver Surfer, still a good deck. You've got a lot of these decks that have been staples that are still tier 1, tier 2 decks that perform at a good level. And it's nice to not see Thanos all the time. But I will say, Alex, I'm a bit ashamed of you, man. How dare you? How dare you mention him?
I know.
How dare you mention Voldemort here on the channel?
I know. It's annoying, but you know what, though? Like, this is exactly why the card's in the game. Yep. Someone's hitmonkeying, packing this massive turn 6 hit where it's about to punch you right in the throat, and you just throw Leech out, and you're like, no, thanks, bro.
Yeah, the last thing I will say is I also think there's one more deck that I'm not crazy about. I'm not a big RNG guy. It's fun, but as far as like rank climbing, it's not my favorite thing. But if you look at the stats, Alex, for Jane Jaw at the moment, it's like 59% win rate. Now, that's early on. We have to see how it kind of flushes out over the season. But, like, Shuri's like a 62%. Like, this deck is performing right now, and it's crazy to see that. So I would say if you want another one and you happen to have these cards, Jane Jaw is the deck that I would probably recommend as far as just proven stats. It's doing good right now with the stats, as well as the Dracula dump deck. So those are my main decks that I would play in the current season, Alex.
I actually love the Jane Jaw base list. Whenever you're playing Lockjaw, the RNG is pretty wild. And if you're someone who's been playing Thanos Lockjaw, okay, so I've seen this comment a bunch. People playing Thanos Lockjaw, and then they try to go back to like regular Lockjaw. They're like, man, this sucks. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's just you have been spoiled rotten with what Thanos does with Lockjaw. Like, back to reality is what Lockjaw was supposed to be with someone like, Jane Foster and obviously Wasp. And I love your inclusion of Nightcrawler because if it comes out, you can move it, continue to play. One of the reasons why I actually like playing Vision in Lockjaw lists, because when you pull the Vision out, you can move Vision and then play someone else in, right? So yeah. I absolutely love Lockjaw. Can I give you a hot take? I'm glad Lockjaw didn't get nerfed. I was actually really nervous that Lockjaw was going to get nerfed and like a whole archetype was going to die because of the prevalence of Thanos. Unfortunately, rip Quinjet to some extent, but now that Hitmonkey's out and now that Kitty Pryde's out, it makes much more sense. Like my initial reaction to the Quinjet nerf Now I have a little more like, scope, understanding. The 30,000 foot view, it makes more sense. I'm happy with it now.
And same for Arrow. Listen, do I wish they didn't do as dirty as they did? Yeah, but I think Glenn released the stats. She's still like one of the most top played cards, still very good at the win rate, cube rate. And, it feels pretty good, I think. It's a bit awkward. And I can tell you that I've lost a couple of games thinking she did her old ability. It's just been ingrained in my soul. But for the most part, the balance changes outside of a couple did a good job, Alex, overall. And I think a lot of the decks we're talking about right now are probably going to be hot and rising cards as well.
Yeah, no kidding. And one last thing I want to mention here is like, I kind of want to give some credit to the development team. Like, they take a lot of heat. Like, during the patch changes, they took a lot of heat. Like, even myself was like, this Quinjet nerf, what did they do to Quinjet? Maria Hill, rest in peace. I was like, I was dying. And then now, with a little bit of time and a little bit of perspective, it makes more sense. So, like, the reason why I say this is because, like, I was one of the first ones to get on top of that Quinjet nerf and be like, what are we doing here? And then now it makes more sense. So I think that, like, through the lens of just patience and objectivity, these development teams actually doing a pretty good job. Right? I think Glenn's actually nailing some of these balance changes. And you know what that does? It makes me more excited for the balance changes coming in the future, which would appear to be probably going to be in line with the series drop.
Yeah, I'm new to card games. I at least concentrating behind them, and I'll tell you this, I'm just starting to realize that there's a hated card every patch. And there's probably going to be nothing that can change that. I think it's just the way it works. I think negativity does sell. It's just not my style, I guess. To me, it's just comical. Some of the complaints here, because don't forget to have fun. It's a fun game after all. I love the passion. Don't get me wrong, but I think we can take it a bit easy sometimes on our ranting per se, as far as especially some balancing stuff goes. But I will say, I just don't know what message needs to get across. I think they're probably just working on the tech behind it. I don't know. I think they probably shouldn't have announced that they had tech to patch anytime. That was probably just a bad PR move, because it's like, that's the piece that I can't wrap my head around at the moment. I will defend them night and day about what I just said, positivity. But we just have to see quicker action. We have to see some quicker action here. I just don't, for me, and again, there's probably more tech behind it that I don't understand, but I read the tweet that they could buff and nerf anytime. So if I was on the other end, like, why not? It's Friday. Hey, let's just see how a 4-0 Shuri goes this weekend, right? Like, that's the stuff that's like, why? Why not? I just don't understand that. And maybe they can clarify that on a later date.
You know what? I'm going to come off the script a little bit here, because I actually want to talk about this. You're touching on a very important thing. So I've had this thought that's been really prevalent in my mind. And I actually went out for dinner with some friends last weekend, and we were talking about Marvel Snap, because they're really interested in like what I do and stuff like that. And they play Marvel Snap. I actually got my friends into Marvel Snap. All of them have stopped playing. Almost all of them have stopped. My brother will pick it up here and there, but almost all of them have stopped playing. And honestly, that breaks my heart, because like when you talk to like your friends, they give you the really honest opinion, right? Like, but when it's your friends and they look you down the face and they say, you know what, Alex, like this Shuri stuff, I'm playing it like half the time. I don't have the answers to it. I just don't want to play it. It's not fun. It's not fun. And they say like, Alex, I'm not playing the same game as you. I don't have the same cards. I don't have the ability to play Wave Arrow just to deal with this one deck that's in 25% of my games. It's just not fun. Like, and so they stop playing. So when you say that, like, yes, they're actually hitting a lot of these balance changes right, but like they kind of whiffed on the Shuri a little bit. And you know what? They're human. What are you going to do? But at the same time, Cozy, I think you're right. It's taken too long. And I really am concerned that some significant damage is being done by the Shuri meta. Like, if the casual player doesn't want to play, like, I wake up in the morning sometimes and I'm like, I don't want to queue against Shuri players anymore. I'm just sick. I want to play some fun, cool stuff. And I can't, because I have to rank up, because that's the expectation as a content creator. I got to play these sweaty decks. And sure enough, it's like Shuri list after Shuri list after Shuri list. It's not fun. And I'm just concerned it's done damage to the longevity of the game.
Oh boy. Yeah, I mean, I have plenty of opinion there. I would say I think every game, listen, I'm not trying to devalue anything, but every game, the game is dying. Everybody who doesn't like a game, the game is dying. And it's like, guys, shut up, please. It's not. It's doing great.
Game's dead,
it's doing fine.
Game, yeah.
It is what it is. I think there's ebb and flows. I think that the peak of what the game was has gone down a little bit because of initial hype, but I think it'll come, as new game modes and things come. And this isn't saying anything against, like, they do need to be more timely here. Wasn't expected to talk about this. I'm absolutely fine to. My thoughts on Shuri. I don't know if it's the general community thoughts, but this is my thoughts. I think if you're a good player, it's fine. I'm not worried about Shuri. I'll be honest. I don't think she's that hard to beat with a good amount of decks. However, there's a caveat. She's way too easy to play for what she does do. And more importantly is, I am playing so much Snap, right? So my takes are, guys, not your takes, and I get that because I can see things and do things, whatever, right? Because I play a lot of it. But for the casual player, man, it is a mess. Shuri is a huge problem. It's an absolute disgusting card that needs to be addressed in several ways. So I see it in different ways. Like, I think that if Monkey can beat Shuri and Shuri can beat Sandman or whatever, I don't know, and Sandman can beat Monkey, then, okay, you have some things going. I want there to be a lot of decks. I want every archetype to have a shot, right? And right now, that's not the case. I think there are a good amount of decks without exclusive crazy cards that still can beat Shuri, but it's the leader problem of it's just too damn easy. And that makes it bad for the casual that doesn't have time to learn the archetypes, the meta, whatever. They hop on, they see a Shuri, they see a Red Skull at 1 billion power, and they're like, I'm out, right? And so I want to be careful with how I said it. I do think Shuri needs to be addressed. I do think it's hilarious that it's just like the new thing to hate all the time. There's going to be another one. We talked about this a couple times back. It's a careful, they got to figure it out big time, but it's the timeliness that is the biggest issue around it in general. And I want to know for you, like, right? Like, is Shuri, like, crazy overpowered in your head? Are you losing to Shuri, like, that much? Because she's still only a 60% win rate in the general decks.
No, I'll be honest with you. So with Shuri, I find Shuri is always taking a cube off me and nothing more. Like, if I'm against a Shuri...
Yeah, you leave.
Yeah, you just identify that it's a Shuri list. I see the Cosmo drop. I see the Shuri drop. And I already know. I'm like, do I have a play here?
Exactly.
If they snap, I walk. And so, like, yeah, take your 1 cube, enjoy it, right? Like, what are you going to do, right? I mean, it was maybe 2 months ago, we talked about the skill of identifying opponents' decks. Remember when we did that kind of segment where it said, hey, they played this and this on turn 1 and 2. What are they playing? Well, obviously, Shuri has a very telltale play pattern from turn 3 onward. Cosmo, Shuri, right? Skip turn. Well, there's going to be She-Hulks everywhere, right? So it's like, it's one of those things is like, obviously there's a play pattern. Once you identify that and you know what's coming, you can make a good discerned decision on, okay, I got to just walk. I give the cube and that's fine. I feel like there's a lot of frustration of people saying like, I'm going to beat this Shuri player and I'm going to snap back. I'm going to show this guy. And then they lose the 8 and then they go to Reddit and they punch their keyboard with caps lock, right? I totally understand the frustration. But at the same time, I got to tell you, every single deck I design, I have to have the caveat of how does this deal with Shuri or does it just lose?
Yep, that's the main issue. I think it's the oppressiveness. She's everywhere right now. And it's the same as the Thanos Leech thing. It's the exact same thing that I want there to be multiple competitive decks. I am completely fine with Shuri being in the game. Doubling and having high power cards is great and all, but there needs, and that's why it was kind of on my side. We talked about Shang-Chi and I had my stances there, right? Like, is important to the game, but there can't just be one card that answers it, and you just have to have like 10, 7, whatever your number is of competitive, archetypes, not decks, but archetypes, right? And not even just the less experienced, but just like the casual player. Definitely understand where you're coming from, without question. I refuse to get on this bandwagon of another leader treatment. Not going to happen on my end. But what it really comes down to is communication. So, like, I don't know, in the dev video, it would have been like, yeah, we see Shuri's a problem. We're working on it, guys. Stay tuned, whatever. That's the stuff that I would, but probably the communication there maybe a little bit can change. But altogether, we did derail a bunch, but I think it was important to talk about it, that it's more about, there needs to be more meta diversification and quicker changes is the biggest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And without question, I think that I think the whole player base would benefit from that. Like the entire game would benefit from a meta that's more often shaken up a little bit. But thankfully, you know what, Cozy? Hitmonkey kind of gave a little bit of a reprieve because Hitmonkey I think is viable. And I think you're right, by the way. Hitmonkey can play to Shuri. I think it can. I think it can deal with it. I think that, there's going to be versions of that deck. They're going to be able to kind of work against it. And I look forward to kind of seeing that.
Yeah, but then it could be Hitmonkey next, right? If they tune down Shuri and then Hitmonkey's good, it could be Hitmonkey next. So I've accepted it. There will always be a card that is hated in a card game, and I do get that. And I stand behind a lot of it. I just get comments that ask me like, make a full video about like Shuri, blah, like, guys, I don't do this for the views. I could probably get, whatever, 6 digits of views complaining about Shuri. Yeah, and maybe I will. Maybe it depends. If they take another couple weeks, like, yeah, it's probably needed at that point. It's just the timeliness, really, about it in general, and just the fun factor, right? It's pretty easy. You don't need a scientist to know if something's fun for the general player base or not. And again, I just think it's a bit too easy. But I don't want to discredit people that love Shuri too, man. If you like Shuri, you like playing it, don't feel bad about it. I think it's stupid. Certainly you should feel like garbage if you like Leech. I'm sorry. Leeching someone never feels good, right? But no, in general, I think Shuri, hopefully we're talking in a week or 2 weeks about the significant change that she went through.
I would expect it to happen on the drop of the series cards from series 4 to 5 and etc. Right? That's basically been the cadence. But you know what, Cozy? We got to talk about something else. We got to talk about, and I love the fact, by the way, I had to take Cozy by surprise to almost kind of like prod him to like get a little bit of an angry opinion, I had to just take him off script there for a second, and I still couldn't quite get some angry Shuri out of him. I almost had you.
I'm angry. It's funny. It's like I'm angry at 2 things, right? I'm angry at the time it's taking and the technical limitations that should be there in the game. And I'm angry by getting on Twitter and not being able to just enjoy, like, it's just like, God, I just don't know how it just gives people jollies to wake up angry at a 4 drop. But if it stops you from liking or playing your satisfaction in the game, understandable. I think what's terrible too, and I'm seeing this a lot, is just like you're seeing Shuri at such low level of play now too, like level like rank 20 and 30, and my good friends 22. And he's like, yeah, I'm going up against Shuri. I'm like, how is it down there? That's insane, right? So anyway, yeah, you got me a little bit. You got me a little heated.
Okay, let's talk about our hot and rising cards of the month, Cozy. We got a lot to talk about here because anytime you have a new season pass card, specifically, that kind of really shakes things up. And the season pass, the card on the season pass is generally owned by more players because, like, I don't, it's random stat. I'm probably just making this up, but as I said prior, you get about 45 to 50% of people buying the season pass. So about half the population playing the game has Hitmonkey, whereas I bet you a brand new card, Jeff the Shark comes out, whatever, it's probably closer to like 2 to 5%, right? Maybe Jeff's higher because Jeff is so awesome, right? But anyways, you know what I mean, right? It's going to be a significantly smaller portion of the population. So with this impactful season pass card, we didn't see this with Nimrod. So with the Hitmonkey season pass this month, and with the new cards being added, especially Jeff the Shark, who I think is going to be on everyone's watch list. What are some of the hot and rising cards, Cozy? Hit me with one that you think is going to be an emerging star.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, obviously, I think we covered a lot of them. Sandman is just back, right? We've talked about that. I think, sadly, Leech is a way to counter some of the stuff that you're going to see out there with the combo potential. One card I don't see talked about that I'm starting to slot into a couple of decks is going to be Mojo, and that's mainly because of the Hitmonkey crazy spamming. You're almost guaranteed now to have a couple lanes filled out to the max, and I think that Mojo, hell, put him in your Miracle decks with Hitmonkey, but I think he's making a lot of sense right now because of the filled board state that we're seeing. Now, if you go up against Shuri, no, right? Because it's only a couple of cards, but it's going to be a good card, I think, to play in general because we're going to continue to see Beast rise up, and definitely one to kind of answer the meta-ish with the bounce stuff. So Mojo's my first, okay, he's going to be on the rise, Alex.
Yeah, I love that pick, by the way. Like, Mojo has this really interesting effect where it, like, kind of discourages your opponent from playing that lane. Like, they don't want to go 4 wide there. They really don't. So if you have, like, a tempo and initiative advantage and they have to try to answer that, they have to answer whatever it is plus 6, right? I love that about Mojo. Mojo's a really fascinating one. Now, I'm going to take the easy route here, Cozy. There are 2 cards that are really benefiting from this current meta, and it's Bishop and Angela. Now, Bishop and Angela are going to naturally work with the Hitmonkey meta, but the reason why I really want to bring these cards up is not to just beat on the Hitmonkey drum that has been one of the major things of this podcast thus far, but it's Kitty Pryde, guys. Kitty Pryde is eventually going to be back. It's eventually going to be back. This is a card that I cannot stress enough. I'm so excited to play again. It was by far one of my favorite cards I've played. Kitty Pryde with Hitmonkey, with Bishop and Angela is wild.
Yeah.
All 3 of these cards work wonderfully with Mysterio. Like, literally max value with Mysterio, with Bishop and with Angela. Like, Cozy, Bishop and Angela both got nerfed. and now they're back. And I'm telling you, I'm getting Bishop to like 311. Angela's like a 210. Sorry, like it's wild what's happening.
Yeah, and it's because of that. Because of that, this is not a recommendation of a buy by any stretch of the imagination, people. But I can tell you, I have one now, a good amount of, not just, the 1 and 2, the 8 cubers with Shadow King, who is the least played card in Snap at the moment. Least played card in Snap. But do keep in mind, he's going to have a heyday a little bit. He's going to have a little bit of a heyday. Even if you happen to have pulled him and you're like, what am I going to do with this card? If you do play the Zabu Sarah version, you're looking at a 2-cost Shadow King that deletes everything out there right now. Sunspot, Shuri, Angela, Bishop, Wolfsbane. They're all going back to their original cost. Kitty, it's very, very, very situational. But it's nice for him because of how much is out there right now in the meta. And I think Shadow King is actually somewhat playable in a control style deck. Is there always a better play? For the most part. But on turn 6, in your Miracle craziness, it's not bad. You know how bad it feels when someone puts an Angela and Bishop together, man, and you just wipe it to 0 and 1? The whole game plan was around those cards. Wolfsbane now is my next pick of a card because if you notice, Mojo, cards that have a lot of other cards and benefit off that, right, are the ones you want to play. Wolfsbane, super popular at the moment because you have all the Mysterios and you're going to get the big 3/7 value out of it most of the time. And so I do have Wolfsbane in there. But yeah, Shadow King, Wolfsbane, those are my main ones.
All right, Cozy, one that I'm going to bring up here, which I think is a really kind of emerging one, and we've actually talked about in the past how it's kind of coming back into the meta, specifically with the nerf to the Space Stone, and that is Storm. I am so happy that Storm is coming back because not only is it location control, which honestly I think a lot of people are sleeping on. I have been seeing more Scarlet Witch, honestly. I have been seeing more Scarlet Witch. But Storm is back, and that's great because one thing Hitmonkey needs and all these combo-centric decks need is they need space. And if you kind of take that space away from them and you constrict their ability to play, they can't run up those Hitmonkeys as high as they might want to.
Yeah, you have to have space with that deck, especially if typically those decks are committing early, like you have the Angela, whatever out there. And then if you go Storm another lane, like they're done. They're falling out of that. They can't do much. Or you storm the Angela lane and they're like, I have to play on here quickly. I love the Storm pick. Just limiting space in general. That's why Debris, you're going to counter Galactus and you're going to get rid of more space. Another card I love. Even the Green Goblin, man. I mean, that's another card. You're taking up that valuable card space that they have to get their Hitmonkey rolling and dealing, right? So I do think these lane control cards like Professor X and Storm and or the Junk is going to be pretty good. Viper Hood. These are the ones that should be on the rise, as I do think that these Hitmonkey decks are going to be flying freaking everywhere, man.
Yeah, they will be flying everywhere, and rightfully so. It's a fantastic card, but it's not overpowered because as we've just discussed, we've got answers for them. They're in your decks, and my friends, I am going to tell you right now that this is a very exciting time to be playing Marvel Snap. We're on the cusp of potentially a massive change to the meta within the next couple weeks. We've got new card drops coming. You know we're going to cover it on the Snapchat as well. And Cozy, there's no one else I'd rather talk to about Marvel Snap than you, my friend.
Oh, man, appreciate it. Love it here. Love it here. Love talking. Excited for the weeks are to come. And it was fun to go off the rails a little bit on some of our topics today. It was a great conversation.
It is fantastic conversation. And guys, another fantastic conversation was Cozy's video, which you're going to see right in the middle of the screen here. So be sure to check it out and listen to those 3 subjects that we have listed below. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next edition of the Marvel Snapchat.